What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. I've got no announcements this week, but make sure to watch to the end of this video to see who won last week's giveaway, and to learn about another one that's going on right now where I'm giving away Catalyst, the Rogue One book that's about to come out. The first patron question this week comes from John Gregory Carson. He asks what my favorite of the rumored Episode 8 titles are, or if I were to title it, what I would choose. I really don't like any of the rumored titles that I've seen so far, but the one that I think comes the closest to something that I might like is Echoes of the Dark Side. I like that because it's more about, the dark side and the battle between light and dark rather than like the First Order Strikes Back, because as much as I really loved The Force Awakens, I don't like the names The First Order and the Resistance. They just seem very bland and generic, so I don't really want either of their names in the title of the movie. So I think if I were to choose a name, I think I'd go with something similar to that, like maybe Shadows of the Dark Side, which I don't even really like that, but I would like to keep that theme where if they're going darker, let's reference the dark side of the Force and not the First Order. And I think they did say that they almost named The Force Awakens Shadows of the Empire, which would have been a cool title, except everyone would have immediately thought it would have some sort of connection to the amazing book Shadows of the Empire, and video game and comic. But something along those lines I think I would choose, so I'll just say my official choice is Shadows of the Dark Side. Charlie Sheets asks what I think the strategy for episodes 10, 11, and 12 should be. I could really see episode 9 kind of actually finally being a return of the Jedi Order, not just of a Jedi as in Luke, but that by the end of this trilogy, we'll have a full-fledged academy again. So I would like to see in the next trilogy, maybe the Jedi once again in their prime. They're like powerful and they're peacekeepers, and they have to face a new threat. Maybe not the Sith, maybe not like the Vong, even though I personally never really had an issue with them. I liked that they were so different, but I would like to see a really like a full-fledged Jedi fighting force battling against some new kind of evil, just something we haven't seen before. So I could see there maybe being a time jump following new characters, or maybe we'll have like Finn and Rey and Poe, but they've aged up and they'd, I guess, have to be recast. But or it could just be a continuation a few years later. It could keep those same actors, and the rest of the Saga films could just kind of follow along, and we'll just trade out actors as they go. I don't know, but for me personally, I would like to see a true return of the Jedi Order. The Screen Avenger wants to know what me and Mollie dressed up as for Halloween. My costumes were actually really boring. I did a wizard one night, and then I put on a Kylo Ren helmet with a shirt that said, "Always be yourself unless you can be Darth Vader," which I thought was appropriate. But Mollie put a lot of work into her costumes, so I'll show them off here. She did this skull, like melting skull makeup. She did Reagan from The Exorcist, and then on the actual day of Halloween, she did this really cool Darth Maul makeup. So that's what we did for Halloween. The Razor Vids asks what franchise I would like to see Star Wars crossover with. Personally, I always think that crossovers are silly, so let's just go ahead and go way over the top with it. I want to see a Fast and Furious pod racing movie. Ever since Fast 5, I've really enjoyed the Fast and Furious movies because they're so insane, but they're also incredibly entertaining. Like, they're pure just entertainment. There's no substance to them, but they're so much fun. So yeah, call up Vin Diesel, get Tyrese Gibson, let's put them all in pod racers and like put crazy alien makeup on all of them, and let's just race them around the galaxy. Daniel Charland wants to know if the holiday special is canon, and since we're approaching the holiday season, I felt that was an appropriate question to answer. The answer is no, thankfully, because it's so bad. You are right, Lucas was very heavily involved with it, the cast was all in it, but Lucas has expressed so much regret over doing it. He said that if he could track down every copy with a hammer and destroy it, he would. So the holiday special is not canon. However, there are some elements from it that are being made canon. For example, there was a cooking show on there that was referenced, and I forget where it was referenced, but it was referenced in canon. And also Chewbacca's family, specifically his wife, shares the same name as his wife in the holiday special, Mala. So while it's not canon, they are taking some bits and pieces, and I think different authors are having fun with it and throwing them in as Easter eggs, really. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, as always, just head over to the Patreon Q&A thread that we have every week, and I gave you a written response there. If you're not a patron and you're interested in becoming one, you can follow the link in the description to learn more. It's just $1 a month, and the combined donations really help support the channel, and you get some fun bonuses in return. On to the YouTube questions. Daniel S. asks how I think Maz Kanata is going to be used in the future films. I could see her having some history with Luke, especially since she had his lightsaber. We also know that Lor San Tekka helped Luke learn more about the Jedi, and maybe Maz was involved with that as well. Or maybe they've never met, but I think they probably will, and I could see her kind of being a mentor to him and helping him reestablish the Jedi Order, if that's something he's interested in now. But she's been around so long, and she knows about the Force. She has to know a lot about the Force. I mean, she's like as old as Yoda, so I would assume that they're going to meet and she will offer some words of wisdom to him. AJZeg01 wants to know what's going on in the Ponda Baba scene where he gets his arm cut off, and you had a lot of questions about this scene, so I'm going to tackle them one by one. The blood is on the floor because Aqualish blood does not coagulate. That's an obvious retcon. They just put blood on the movie and then decided later that, lightsabers cauterize wounds. So now just Aqualish blood doesn't coagulate. I mean, obviously a retcon, but that's the in-universe reason. You say that it's not the Jedi way for Ben to cut his arm off. I would disagree with that. It was in self-defense, and Ben even tried to calm down Evazan and Ponda Baba, and they still wanted to cause trouble, so he pulled out his lightsaber and he cut off an arm. In Legends, Ponda Baba survived that encounter, so he could have done a lot worse. And it's also probably sending a message to everyone else in the cantina that he's not someone to be messed with. And it's sending a message to us in the audience, the same message, that there's a lot more to this old man than meets the eye. And finally, as for hiding his lightsaber, yeah, that's illegal to have a lightsaber, but Obi-Wan probably just doesn't care anymore. And he also knows that he's about to leave the planet, so there's really no danger in exposing himself as a Jedi anymore. Like, he hid himself to protect Luke. Now Luke's coming with him. The jig is up. He might as well show off his lightsaber because he's leaving. Jeffrey Grant asks if there's any more room in the canon for Starkiller. Technically, I guess yes, but I really, really doubt that they're going to include him. Ezra seems to be taking on his role a little bit. They used his nickname Starkiller as Starkiller Base, and the whole Rebel insignia in Legends that came from the Galen Merrick family crest. I am pretty sure Sabine is going to be the one to actually design the final Rebel insignia. So a lot of the important things that he contributed to the EU, they're going to be fulfilled by other people. But that's still not to say that he couldn't show up. I mean, Grand Admiral Thrawn, for example, is supposed to be an after Return of the Jedi character, but they brought him to pre-Battle of Endor character. So it's possible they could shift some things around. I just don't think that if we see him, he's going to be the same character that we saw in Legends, you know? Speaking of Ezra and Sabine, Time Travel Pony wants to know if I want to see any of the Ghost crew in Rogue One. Again, I think that's possible, but I really doubt it'll happen. If it does happen, I'd love to see it happen, just to provide more of that connective tissue. But if it does, I would want it to be very subtle. Like in the trailer, we see that whole scene around like the hollow projection of the Death Star, and Mon Mothma's there, and Jin's giving a speech. I would love it if we just saw like a green skinned Twi'lek in the background wearing Hera's jumpsuit. Just something subtle like that. Like evidence that the Ghost Crew exists in the film universe. Like we know mentally that they do, but it would be cool to actually see evidence. Kind of like Saw Gerrera being from the Clone Wars now in Rogue One. Like just any little touches like that they can do. Even if it's like, what would be cool is like seeing some Sabine graffiti somewhere at the temple on Yavin. Like just something really simple to tie everything together. Finally, Pickles Inc. Stuff asks if the Bad Batch executed Order 66. We don't know either way, but I would assume that they did. They were like a different type of clone trooper, but I imagine they still had chips. I don't see why Sidious would say okay to like this super powerful clone trooper brigade and then not put the chips in their heads. So yeah, I imagine they would, but that would be a really cool like 5-issue arc of comics to see, is what was going on with the Bad Batch during Order 66. Like, which Jedi were they with? What planet were they on? What mission were they on? And how did it all go down? How, like, did they all kill each other? Did they totally wipe out the Jedi where they were with? Like, who lived, who died? It would be really cool to see. That's all the time for questions I have today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below, or head on over to Patreon where we have a weekly Q&A thread. Before I go, let's talk about the giveaways. Last week's winner was Chris Stead. We've already spoken, but congratulations, Chris, and thank you to Collector Zone for sponsoring this giveaway. So Chris won a Jyn Erso exclusive Funko Pop, and they're going to be sending that to you. Also, right now we have another giveaway going. It's just me sponsoring this one to say thank you to you guys. I'm giving away Catalyst, a Rogue One story that comes out on the 15th, and I think that giveaway goes until this upcoming Thursday. There is a link in the description for you to enter that as well, so make sure you do that. I think that's it. So if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and as always, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.